Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Mark Marquette. So glad that you've joined us to stay curious for another episode where Marty Winkle, my co producer, and myself, for almost 5 years now, have been bringing you some news of the day, lots of interviews with space workers and astronauts. But one thing we love doing is talking about the shuttle era and outlining all of the great missions every month. And we've got 10 beautiful missions in the month of March. All five orbiters were involved in those missions, and we'll talk about three of them today, as well as, no, actually, we're going to hit on four of them and talk about two fabulous women that were part of those missions as part of our celebration of Women's Month here in March 2025. March 20th, 2025. And Marty, hello to you. I was out today and saw uh, uh, Piper, Stefanshi Piper, out there. She was a delight to see. And beautiful day here, the first day of spring. And I want to, let's see, I bet we need to back up there. Hold on here. These are all out of order, Marty. Okay. So let me rack these up going through here so I can, ooh, that's not at all what we wanted to do. There's our women. We're going to talk about Shannon Lucid. We're going to talk about Shuttle Fest there. There we go. Got a little behind here and didn't check up the queue as we're talking about Shuttle Fest, April 11th, the 13th. Several of you, like Mr. Mayran, have uh, gone up there, and I'm going to see who's watching today. Give a few shout outs, but give most of them as we go at the end of the program today. Is I've got a good Women's Month featuring five astronauts. That's not the title, Marty, that we're talking about today. But anyway, it works. So, little nervous out of the chute here as I took meetings right up to just coming on here, and I got my Kennedy Space Center T-shirt. It's got a little green in it there. That's why it's mystifying you all with that. So, Shuttle Fest, if you don't sign up for it this week, you might be too late as we're limited to 125 people. And there are astronauts confirmed to come to this wonderful event. Eileen Collins, Don Thomas, Joe Tanner, and John Grunsfeld. And we've got all kinds of wonderful VIPs there, including my friend Chris Callie, who I talked to today. And we're getting all the details ironed out for a successful Shuttle Fest here in just 3 weeks. Happy spring, vernal equinox to everybody. And here's a little astronomy outline to show you that what's going on is when we have the winter solstice, our Earth is tilted away from the sun by our 23.5 degree axis, and the light is not as intense or hot on the northern hemisphere, but it is on the southern hemisphere. That's why here we are at the equinox of March 20th. It's very early for 4 or 5 years. And there you see the Earth tilt is equal light and equal day all over the Earth. And then it goes to increasing the daylight and decreasing the nighttime as our northern hemisphere tilts in. And on the left, we see the hot tilt of the sun warming us up on the northern hemisphere, where our friends like Cliff Watson in Australia will be experiencing the first day of fall today. So beautiful Chamber of Commerce weather today, and glad that all of you have joined us today here to spend a little time with us and learn a little about the shuttle era that was 30 fabulous years of innovation that has changed our world today. And we're also going to throw in today celebration of a couple very significant women of space, some absolute pioneers I'm going to talk about today on the show. So thank you for tuning in all over the world, wherever you are. And I'm listening to you, as is Marty, how to make our program better and more accessible to the YouTube world out there. And if you hit like today, that helps our algorithm out there. Well, the shuttles of the month of March, and we had 8 women go to space in the month of March. They were Nancy Curie, and she was on the Hubble telescope, STS 109. We had Tammy Jernigan we talked about on 62 there, I believe. Uh, Wendy Lawrence, Marcia Ivins, Susan Helms, Shannon Lucid, Linda Godwin, and Kathy Sullivan. And we talked about Linda Godwin yesterday, Marcia Ivins yesterday, Tammy Jurgensen, and Nancy Curry. And today we're going to talk about Shannon Lucid and Susan Helms. And boy, were they pioneers of their respective eras of the space shuttle, because they both were kind of in two different eras in a way. Um, one, the Mir Space Station era, and the other one, building the International Space Station. 59 total people went to space, checked out tickets there. A couple of them did it twice. And all shuttles were flown. As you see there, three for Columbia. Discovery 3 times. Orbital Vehicle 104, Atlantis twice, and OV 105, Endeavour twice. So let's kick it off with STS that lands on March 22nd. All right, a couple days from now in 1982. Wow, do the math of that. That's 43 years we'll be celebrating when Jack Lousma and Fullerton landed out at White Sands. All right. They're a very simple patch. I'm going to do the patches today, folks, but this is a very simple one. This is the insignia for the third flight of the Space Transportation System, depicted in the middle of a blue sphere against the background of the sun. During the mission, Columbia's tail, nose, and top will each be pointed at the sun for long periods to test the thermal response of extreme temperatures. The three prominent rays represent the third STS flight. The surnames of the astronauts flank the vehicle, and the name Columbia appears at the bottom. The spacecraft's payload bay doors are open, and the remote manipulator arm with an experimental payload is extended, as it will be seen several times during the actual flight. This artwork is done by none other than revered space artist Robert McCall. Very simple, very detailed, though, in the cargo bay there. And Jack Lousma is still around. There they are walking out, Jack and Fullerton, Gordon Fullerton. And I talked to his wife Marie, as does the UCX once in a while. They stayed up 8 days, and they had to land at White Sands, and that was historical. I think it was only going to be like a 6-day flight. There at the front there is George Abbey there to the left. And I keep going to that fabulous landing shot that Carlton Bailey took, CB. I see the astronauts waving in the window at you, CB, as you're coming in there. I know Carlton's watching today. And we'll talk more about that. There's the press site for the launch with the NASA worm there in March 22nd, 1982 at 11 a.m. And there's Tom Usiak's shot of the launch lifting off. Mark was there too. And there's a beautiful Hasselblad remote shot of the third time the orbiter went to space. Note on the upper left, beside the fuselage of the wings, that's dark, very black there. That's called the chine. And that's how you identify, one way to identify Columbia from the other orbiters. And there's Mark Usiak, very cold. They had to scramble out to White Sands for the landing that was going to occur on March 30th. And the landing, very cold. They had to get him down. The CPUs were being exhausted on this longer than expected flight. And it was too wet at White Sands, out at Edwards Air Force Base. It was just too wet to land. And Jack Lousma personally told me he had the chance, there he is with me, personally told me, Marty, during that event of the Grumman Lunar Module workers that you staged, he told me he could have landed at Kennedy Space Center. It was his call. But he said, I wasn't going to take a chance. There's gators on that runway, and we didn't have a way to get him off of it. And he was serious about that. He said, one gator on that runway, and coming in on this 20-ton spacecraft at 200 miles an hour might not have been a very good thing to do. So, but Lousma made the call. to not land at Kennedy Space Center during the deal there. A terrific man, Marty. You got a comment about Jack Lausma? Give me one on that USAC family microphone. Well, he's such a nice guy, and I want people just to affirm that from you.
Yeah, he's definitely a nice guy. I mean, I have said often about other astronauts, they're all virtually very nice people. He's down to earth, and what I really like about him lately is the stories he tells.
Oh yeah.
As old as he is, he still has a remarkable memory.
He's 89.
Yeah.
He's born on Leap Day. Okay, and so he's had 88.25 birthdays so far there. And if you get a chance to meet Jack, you will enjoy his stories. Is right. There's the landing out at the White Sands. Look at these people in front of that. It looks like they're like underneath the wing on his telephoto lens, but they're not. They're pretty far away actually. And Mark Usiak, you did an awesome job. There's the chase plane. Would think maybe John McBride was in that, maybe John Young up there. So I got a shout out there to, yes, Jack is a Go Blue Michigan guy. And when I picked him up for dinner back here to Jack Lausma Landing Nest, I had my Ohio State scarlet and gray blanket on the seat, and he opens up the door. He goes, "What's this?" And I said, "I was just a welcoming to you." He said, "I ain't gonna sit on that." He goes, "I should sit on that, and not give it back to you." But Go Blue guy all the way, just like Dave Stange and Callie up there. So that's our STS-3, the shuttles of the month of March. Just such an important flight. They did some science up in it, and thank you, Jack Lausma, for all the great memories there. Next up is a very important mission up there, STS-102, which was D for Discovery. March 8th, it was launched. I'm of course talking about these out of sequence. I'm giving them to you as they were launched up there, which I think is an interesting way to do them. Where is 102? Supposedly had that marked, but I don't. Let me get STS-102 up here. This is get me glasses on here. This the ISS is shown in its build configuration upon arrival of Discovery as the new crew gets its final approach. This is a crew exchange with the first crew with the taking up a full new Expedition 2. The names of the space shuttle crew are in gold around the bottom of the patch. The names of the expedition crews being exchanged are in the lower banner. All right, so Thomas, Weatherby, Kelly, and Richards came up and down in Discovery. All right, but they dropped off Voss, Helms, and Usovich, bringing back Shepard, Gudzenko, and Krikalev, the first occupants of the space station. This was March 8th, the launch of this in 2001. And 24 years ago, okay. Commander was Jim Weatherby, and James Vegas Kelly was the pilot. All right, and you had Andy Thomas, Paul Richards on there, and they came up and down with it. This shows the face of the lab module of the ISS. With the face of the lab module of the ISS, the expedition numbers 1 and 2 create the mission number 102. Okay, so it's Expedition 1 and Expedition 2, with the 102 is the shuttle number. That's pretty clever. Shown below the ISS is the Italian-built multi-purpose logistics module, Leonardo, the first one taken up there. And I think they took it up on one of the last missions, it or Columbus, and left it up there. The flags of major contributing countries, the U.S., Italy, and Russia, are also shown. The build sequence number of this flight is ISS Assembly 5A.1 in the background, okay? Is in the background, 5A.1, you got 5 stars, .1 for 1 star on the other side. That's interesting. And again, 24 64 years ago, Russia and America living in harmony 250 miles above the Earth's surface and setting a great example. Yes, Marty, you got a comment from someone or yourself?
Yeah, Tom Musiak is letting us know that the wide-angle view of the landing was Steve Nolte's.
The wide angle view of the landing
Yes,
that we're shown as the green screen?
I think it's the one you showed a few frames back.
Okay, all right.
The other way,
The other way.
right
Oh,
there.
oh, that's Steve Nolte's. Oh, okay. All right, good. All right, Steve, don't want to slight you. And we thank everybody watching today, of course. We'll get up with your comments here in a little bit, but we want to give credit where credit is due. And there is STS 102, and I got to thinking, let's look a little deep. Here's the crew that were exchanged. Okay. There's Susan Helms. We're going to talk about Susan. All right. And on this mission, she did the longest spacewalk with Jerry Voss there. And there's the crew of 102, and then the crew that came back with Bill Shepard there in the middle, and Kirkilov on the left, and Yusevich on the other side there. There's the beautiful night launch of this. I think this is a USIAC brother launch again. 2:31 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on March 21st, 2001. Okay, keep that 2001 in your mind there for a few minutes. There was the rollout. I guess I should have put that before the launch, but gorgeous rollout there. That's kind of like reminds me of the Woman in the Moon rollout, okay, of that classic movie, The Woman in the Moon, where they did the first countdown. That was a Fritz Lang production, and that looks exactly like something out of there. And the gorgeous launch at 2:31 a.m. That can't be the launch of that. That's got to be another launch, because that certainly wouldn't give you there. There is Susan Helms up in this reading a book, How Computers Work, all right, which everybody was reading in 2001. And I got to thinking, Marty, 2001, what did the International Space Station look like in 2001? Here's Susan at the space station, low resolution, doing an 8-hour and 56-minute spacewalk, the longest in shuttle history. And we have that on her plaque in our women's gallery, where we now have 81 women in space. And she achieved this with Jerry Voss, okay, up there. Although his name's not Jerry, is it? Voss. Yeah, it's Jim Voss. It's Jim Voss. I knew that didn't sound right. It's Jerry Ross and Jim Voss. So she set the record on this. And I got to thinking, Marty, 2001, what did the space station look like? All right. 2001, A Space Odyssey. Well, when I looked up 2001 space station, just Googled space station 2001, this is what came up. Okay. But I meant the International Space Station 2001, and that's what that looks like. All right. So 1972, we were all thinking that in 2001, a space station would look like this. All right, what I Googled. Space Station 2001, that's what came up, but that's really what it looked like. All right, with a maximum of 6 human beings on there. No photo was taken during this early stage of what it looked like with the shuttle attached to it. All right, that had to be wild, because all this could almost fit in the payload bay. But what they did was put this good power unit on it when they left. That's what the long durations EVA was all about. So, well, in keeping with Women in Space Histories Month, we want to highlight Susan Helms here for you all, just a minute or two. Born in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I know some people out there going whoopee about that. Charlotte's a great town. Connie Daniels lived there for a long time. She watches our show. Born February 26th, 1958. All right. So what is she, 66 years old? Just turned 67. She attained the rank of lieutenant general in the U.S. Air Force. All right, and there she is in an EVA suit. That was her only extravehicular activity. 8 hours and 56 minutes. All right, she has one, two, three, four, five space flights. Okay, total for 210 days in space. All right, there's the pretty Susan Helms as lieutenant general. She she grew up, though she was born in Charlotte, she considers Portland, Oregon to be her hometown. She enjoys piano, jogging, traveling, reading, computers, and cooking. She resides in Colorado Springs. That's from her Air Force days. All right. She's got three sisters, according to Wikipedia. She was nominated by President Barack Obama to be the vice commander of the Air Force Space Command in 2013 after her career there. And there she is in space. All right. Missions were 54 Endeavor, 64 Discovery, 78 Columbia, and then 102 here back to Atlantis. So she was in four different ones. That has to be unique to talk to her about. Four of the five shuttles. The only one she didn't fly was Challenger. That has to be interesting. All right. So Susan Helms, we salute you on the month of Women's Month in America here, and I know she's out there doing great things for the military. A highly badged person there, and Lieutenant General in the Air Force. 3 stars that is on there. So good for her on this mission. STS 102. I find that very wonderful that NASA sent a woman up in the second crew. It immediately integrated women into our expeditions up there, and she was up there for about 5 months. All right, let's look at another shuttle of the month of March is 119 here. I pull 119 up. A 13-day mission of discovery, the 28th International Space Station flight, where Susan Helms was on the second. Here is the 28th flight. Let's see what they say about that insignia with our astronauts. It was launched on March 15th, 2019, so that's 16 years ago at 7:43 p.m. I think that was the one I had mixed up there with in the wrong place. And we're going to feature the work of Carlton Bailey on STS 119. As here's the crew, pretty crowded up there, all men. Lee Archambault is the commander. Lee is over here, okay, and beside him is pilot Dominic Antonelli, Tony Antonelli, who looked through a telescope of mine one night at an outreach event I was at, and he was at. Joe Acaba is right there in the center. Joe Acaba is now he's over the astronaut office, and he's an Artemis astronaut. Could be in queue to go to the moon or orbit it. John Phillips is the old man looking second from left there with the white mustache. Steve Swanson is there. And Rich Arnold and Koichi Wakata is on there. And occasionally you find a misprint, Marty, and it says in this book that they brought Sandy Magnus down from the International Space Station is what they did. They brought her back and left up there Wakata, the man on the right, who I also met him. So actually, that's weird. I just realized this. Both Antonelli and Wakata looked through a telescope of mine at different times at an event. That was interesting. Just putting that together. The patch. Let's check the patch out here, because I like the patches and the meaning of them. The shape of the patch is a solar array viewed at an angle. The International Space Station, the destination of the mission, is placed in the center of the patch just below the gold astronaut symbol. The gold solar array of the ISS highlights the main cargo and task, the installation of the S6 truss segment and deployment of its solar arrays. the last to be delivered to the International Space Station. Under the Japanese Kibo module, okay, which is got the red dot on it right over here, marked by a red circle, is the name of Japan astronaut Koichi Wakata, who goes up on the ISS to serve as flight engineer representing JAXA. The rest of the crew members are denoted on the outer band of the patch. The 17 white stars represent, in the words of the crew, quote, the enormous sacrifice the crews of Apollo 1, Challenger, and Columbia have given to our space program, unquote. The U.S. flag flowing into the space shuttle signifies the support of the people of the United States that have given our space program over the years, along with the pride the U.S. astronauts have in representing the USS in the mission. I got to wave Old Glory over that one, Marty. I didn't know about the 17 and the stars up there representing our fallen heroes, and that's just beautiful. And that's why we read these to occasionally to give you a behind the scenes of these patches that I know you all love and have on your clothing, your objects of affection, like my telescope and so forth. So, hope you enjoyed that. There's a moonrise, I think, of Carlton's there. These are all Carlton Bailey shots there. Lower that, the moon rising over the launch pad there, Carlton. Excellent, excellent shot. And this was the mission, Marty, that a bat was clinging to the external tank. All right. And they took close-ups of this bat, and it never left. So they think it took a pretty wild ride when that was launched. In fact, one of these pictures, I think this one, is at the ignition of the SRBs on there. So do you remember anything about a bat taking a ride on this in 2009, Marty?
I remember that, but I don't recall what happened to the bat or how the bat died. 'Cause I'm sure he didn't survive.
Now, don't be saying that. We'll have PETA coming in here storming our museum. I think the bat just raised its wings and glided back safely to the pad there. Yeah, right. All that gigantic, massive 160 tons of SRBs going off at once. Yep, we'll see that. But that was one of the big. Now, this was 2019, so there's only 2 more years left. And, God bless Tony Antonelli. He would have flown more, maybe been a great commander, and so forth. All these astronauts would have flown more. There's the moment the SRB liftoff on this flight that was at 7:43 p.m. in the darkness, all right? And Carlton nailed this shot. Those are both Carlton shot. Carlton, what an excellent, solid rocket booster separation. Folks, look at the smoke, look at the color, the orange, the white, the shades of blue in there. That's one of the best SRB separation shots ever, my friend. And let's go forward with another shot, going up into the sun had set, but there's still sunlight hitting up in the higher altitudes. And there you go, a red, white, and you can see tints of blue there. An all-American shot there by Carlton Bailey. Oh, there was the red, white, and blue shot there as the sun had set, but the sunlight high up was still being caught up in space as it was getting deeper into the twilight there. That is all America there. And Marty, he's got 2 birds in there also that he let loose out of the cages so that they'd fly up there just to get your shot there, CB. And you did such outstanding work on that. And next up is, of course, this is another gentleman whose name I didn't write down. I'm sorry, don't sue us, but this was his shot of a panorama there. How cool is that? I think it was Robert Ray or something like that. And then what comes down, what goes up must come down. And of course, the landing is the most important of the mission, the safety and everything of the crew. Right at the moment, look at the wheels just about to pop out of there. Carlton Bailey there on the spot at the runway here at the Space Center. Got those wheels coming by him, flying down. That is an experience I never had, and Carlton and other photographers talk about the whoosh that goes by. It's silent, but look at the people there in the foreground. But the shuttle's still a quarter mile away, as I show you there in this lower there. So excellent work, Carlton Bailey, 16 years ago. Such good work. I wanted to just remind you all what Carlton looks like today. In one of my favorite of his t-shirts there with the cats flying through outer space there. He's a big animal lover. In fact, worked at the Akron Zoo as part of his lifetime resume there. So good job, Carlton, and always get an opportunity to show off the work of our friends Carlton Bailey and Tom and Mark Usiak and Steve Nolte and Robert Preston, part of that Usiak family group there of photographers. So the shuttles of the month wouldn't be nothing if we didn't have one that went to the Mir space station, and we certainly do. That's STS-76 that we're going to conclude talking about today in our shuttles of the month. Let's get to the STS-76 patch, which was launched on March 22nd, same day as STS-3, but a few years apart in 1896, I guess, at 3:13 a.m. Wow, another getting up early one there. And they landed at Edwards Air Force Base. The patch depicts Atlantis and the Russian space station Mir as they prepare for the rendezvous and docking. The spirit of 76, an era of new beginnings, is represented by the space shuttle rising through the circle of 13 stars in the Betsy Ross flag that is depicted below. STS-76 begins a new period of international cooperation in space exploration with the first space shuttle transport of a U.S. astronaut, Shannon Lucid, to the Mir space station for extended joint space research. Frontiers for future exploration are represented by the stars and planets, and the 3 gold trails of the ring of stars in the Union form the astronaut logo. That's nice. 2 suited extravehicular activity EVA crew members in the outer ring represent the first EVA during the shuttle Mir docked operation. See those guys there in the corner? Guys and girls. The EVA objectives are to install science experiments on the Mir exterior and to develop procedures for future spacewalks on the International Space Station. The names of the crew circle the patch. The patch was designed by Brandon Clifford, age 12, and the crew of STS-76. NASA occasionally opened up artwork and what we call STEAM, education, science, technology, arts, and math. Brandon Clifford, age 12, in 1996 or 5 when this was chosen. So. And the crew also has a lot to do with it. Kevin Chilton's the commander there in the center. You've got Rick Searfoss, who's no longer with us. He's the pilot over here on the right. And Shannon Lucid is in the middle. Linda Godwin is on the right, and that is Michael Clifford in there. And on the far left is Ronald Sega in there. I don't have how long they've been in space. I usually like keeping up with that, but lost track of that for today's show. But we're going to talk about 76 here. Oh, no, I did. That was Sega's second and last flight, the third and last for Michael Clifford, who I think is no longer with us either. Linda Godwin, that was her third of 4. Shannon Lucid, this was her 5th and last flight for Shannon, going to the Mir space station. Wow, what a way to end your career. And this was Kevin Chilton's 3rd and last up there. Here's the crew up at the space, at the White Room. That's our friend Travis Thompson, who worked in the White Room. We've not seen Travis in a while. Hope he's doing well. Here's Shannon up there. That's Chilton. And something to show you, they would have a little plaque there on the White Room hump that would. They had a hump there and then to let people get into the hatch easily, and they would have a crew patch there and a little ceremony with that, and then somebody signs that. So, so the STS-76 crew gave a tribute there. That's Travis Triple T Thompson. And here's the crew rehearsing. This is what it looks like. Not sure if it's the real flight or the test rehearsal day, but you got 4 of them up and then the rest in the bottom, lower cab down there. So there is Chilton, I mean. They call him Chili Chilton. He's a birth mate of mine on November 3rd. And he's actually, I think he's a general in whatever branch of service he, or general in the Air Force, I guess. Here's the crew eating on STS-76 in the space shuttle. No, actually, that'd have to be the Mir space station. There's Shannon and Linda Godwin. And we featured Linda Godwin yesterday on our tribute to women in March. And there she is there, born in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, but grew up in Jackson, Missouri. And she has 39 days in space, and after her career, she went to be a teacher, as you see there. And there's the Mir space station as the shuttle approached it to dock it. Quite a menagerie of had been up there now about 10 years. There's the docking hatch in the space shuttle as it attached to the Mir space station, something that had to be figured out before we could dock. This is the 3rd docking with the space station. I mean, with the Mir space station, 3rd of 9 visits to it. And Godwin and Clifford did the first EVA around there, so she was an experienced spacewalker. I don't know how many spacewalks she did do, but Women's History Month, we featured Linda Godwin yesterday. We're going to feature Shannon Lucid today. And did I skip Susan? Yeah, I talked about Susan Helms there. Yeah, I did. Yeah, Susan. There's Shannon Lucid, born in Shanghai, China. There's a good question for you in trivia. She is 83 years old now, and no, 82. Don't push it. She's 82. She had Baptist missionary parents. Okay, and they settled in Bethany, Oklahoma. And Lucid graduated from Bethany High School in 1960. She went to the University of Oklahoma, a proud state for their astronauts. All right, there she is on the Mir space station. She was on STS-51G, 34 with that deployed the Galileo, 43 that was a TDRS mission, 58, and then STS-79, and she came back. I mean, she went up on 76 and came down back on STS-79. A woman of the 50s for sure. Born, and when I say born in 1943, a teenager in the 50s and going through the challenges of women. Shannon Matilda Wells is an American biologist. Her maiden name was Wells. She took her husband's name, Lucid. How about the challenges of being a woman in space, okay? There's her 188 days in space. She said, basically, all my life I'd been told, you can't do that because you're female. So I guess I just didn't pay any attention. I just went ahead and did what I could, and then when the stars aligned, I was ready. And that's a big message to anybody out there. Be ready. You never know when the opportunity is going to knock your way. And she talks about this, and here she is later in life. Okay, a few years ago. Quote, I was really desperate. I don't know if you can remember back that far, but when I went to graduate school, they didn't want females in graduate school. They were very open about it. They didn't mince their words. But then I got in and I got my degree. She's talking about Oklahoma University, getting into there. No, I'm sure everything's improved now. And then she said again about her trials of just not being an astronaut, but a female astronaut, as well as all the qualifications to be chosen in the first 6 female astronauts. Quote, it was just really, really tough getting anything when you were a female. Basically, I just took advantage of everything I could. But when people are going to flat out tell you they're not going to hire anyone that's female, there's not much you can do about it. And Marty, those stereotypes and so forth today, I hope have been put to rest, though I know many females that'll say they haven't. But hopefully we've made great strides here in 2025. And Shannon Lucid, we appreciate all that you have done, as she's smiling there getting inducted into the Astronaut Hall of Fame. And she certainly has done no more for us than what she's done with the Mir missions there. So Marty, hand me our list there of friends that are watching Stay Curious today as we look at the space shuttle docked to the Mir as taken from a Soyuz spacecraft that orbited around there. And for me, that is one of the iconic images of the space age. Thank you for watching Julie Clay and Elena Adhekara. Dave Stangy's watching today. Gary Gerald up in Georgia. Doug Forrest in Los Angeles. Tom Celentano in Connecticut. Dr. Keith Sewell in Arkansas. Carlton Bailey in this hacienda out there in Cocoa, Florida. Dean Babcock is watching in Illinois. Bob Mahan, thank you for your nice comment, Bob. He has signed up for Shuttle Fest, so we're going to meet Bob Mayran, who I believe is from the Miami area. Steve Jokums, you're going to hear a lot about Steve Jokums and his generosity of what he's doing to enhance Shuttle Fest here in just 3 weeks. Tom Usiak, thumbs up to your excellent work with your brother, Tom. Your photography is outstanding. And Dave Stangy, who enjoyed seeing his Michigander friend. Yeah, Marty interrupted me there. I'm trying to think of his Michigander friend, Jack Lausema. And hello to Cliff Watson. Glad that you got here, buddy, as we highlighted four or five fabulous shuttles of the month of March and 2 outstanding women. So tomorrow's be Friday, and we're going to talk a little bit about some backyard astronomy and a few other things to keep you staying curious. So until next time, thank you all for watching. Thank you, Marty, for a great Streamlabs job. I'm Mark Marquette saying we can't wait to see you in our museum to bridge the space between us.